Hello, everyone. It is June 30th, 2020. We are almost halfway through the year. I'm Lowe, Executive Director of Chronicle Season of Sharing Fund, and I'm here with
Dehnert, uh, Program Coordinator for Season of Sharing in Sonoma County.
Joy. Thank you so much for being here with me today. It's such a pleasure, as always, to talk to you. We are more than 3 months into this pandemic. Can you believe it? As California reopens, what are some changes that you've seen in Sonoma County?
Some of the changes that we've seen here in Sonoma County is as businesses begin to open, some families have been unable to go back to work. We have actually seen an increase in COVID positive families, which has been hard to see for sure.
Wow. So when you say COVID positive families, do you mean like sort of a few members in a household are COVID positive, but then even the sort of COVID negative members of the household cannot go back to work because they have to self quarantine for what is it, at least 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yes. Yeah. I've seen cases of multi-generational families. Some have tested positive, and because they have tested positive, they've been instructed by doctors to even wait 2 weeks after they are symptom-free to go grocery shopping, interact with the bank, anything like that. So it has impacted them greatly.
And so when you say multi-generational households, you're talking about every member of the household then has to self-quarantine and can't work. And these applications that you had mentioned seeing, Joy, why is it that people aren't able to access paid sick time while they're self-quarantining at home?
A lot of the people who are unable to access paid sick time is because they are people who their jobs don't give that option. Maybe they are house cleaners, landscapers, maybe they work in the field and they are unable to have access to unemployment and other benefits that are given by the state.
So the stories that I'm hearing from you mirror what I've seen from Napa County as well, because Napa and Sonoma are both agricultural counties with a lot of people who work out in the fields. And um, Joy, tell us about what happens, because I think that you had mentioned that many of these professions, like landscaping, house cleaning, construction, and working in the fields, people are making minimum wage or sometimes less than minimum wage if they're being paid in cash. Um, that's already very difficult given Bay Area housing prices. What happens when there's a crisis like this, and there are so many people within a household are suddenly unable to work?
It has a huge impact on families. After the 2017 fires, rent has gone up exponentially in Sonoma County. And so more families live together to be able to afford to pay rent. And it has, these are just a snowball effect, and all these things have impacted families, they have impacted individuals and our community for sure.
I can definitely see the snowball effect. So you have one COVID diagnosis in this much larger household that impacts now a greater portion of the workforce. And people who were already struggling are now struggling even more.
We have been able to assist many families with rent and utilities and other critical needs.
And what would happen if we could not pay their rent? Like, would these families be at risk of homelessness?
Legally, they shouldn't be in this time with the eviction moratorium, but landlords, we have seen landlords still giving eviction notices, giving people 60-day notices, even though it's not supposed to happen until the shelter in place is lifted. But the landlords are struggling themselves also because they depend on that rent to pay the mortgage. But yeah, if we weren't able to help these families, then who knows where they would be.
Thank you so much, Joy. I feel like first of all, I want to thank all of our donors for contributing. We've
Yes.
raised more than $4.7 million towards our
Wow.
COVID rapid response effort, and that's enough to keep more than 1,300 families in their homes and provide more than 1.4 million meals. So thank you so much to all of our donors.
Yes.
Secondly,
Thank
this
you.
crisis is far from over. As we see California reopening, while we would like to think, oh, hey, everybody can go to work now, problem solved, the reality is far from that. As Joy mentioned, there are an increasing number of families where one or more members of the household have tested positive for COVID, and everybody else needs to self quarantine. And those families need our help now. Those families need our help because they're not in a fortunate situation where they can access paid sick time. They can't. And they actually can't afford to stay home and not work. So, if you're a donor and you're seeing us right now having this conversation, um, please know that we're doing everything possible to help members of these families stay home so that they have a place to quarantine and so that they do have a place where they can shelter in place. Joy, thank you so much for talking with me today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I just want to say thank you because we would not be able to do this without the help of the donors, without Season of Sharing and the rapid response that we have received. People are so grateful, so grateful to receive the assistance in this difficult time.
To help our neighbors in need, you can donate today. Click here. Thank you so much for your support.